Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of the LifeWarrior podcast. And today, I mentioned in the first one that we're doing this, and today we're having my wife Anna and daughter Elliston on to the LifeWarrior podcast. Like I mentioned in the first episode, this has to do with AI crimes. This is something that we have experienced together over the last 8 or 9 months. And it's kind of been of a whirlwind 8 or 9 months, especially in the last month or so, where it's really picked up. We've traveled all over the place, New York, DC, Austin, everywhere. And so what has happened is a student in her class used an AI app, and I'll let her tell the story, but used an AI app to create nude pictures of her and some of her classmates. And this is the beginning. I'll let her tell the story, and then we'll go into a little bit of LifeWarrior type stuff. Sound good? All right. So, all right, Elliston. October 2nd. That's the day, right? That's D-Day. That's when it kicked off. We're in our room. You come in, and I'll let you take it from there. How has that affected you? What was it like? The whole thing.
Well, it was October 2nd, and it was just a normal Monday for me. I had a normal week ahead, volleyball games, and this was one of the last weeks. This is before the first semester was over. So it was totally normal, and I was just a normal freshman. I had volleyball games and football games, and I had just had homecoming, and my high school experience was honestly pretty decent up until this point. Um, I had a lot of fun, and it was very fun. And this October morning, I had woken up at 6 in the morning for volleyball practice when my friend had notified me that these photos of her and I were going around. So she sent me um, a collage of pictures. It's her and I's original photo and then her and I's edited photo. And these edited photos were nude images where our clothes were stripped off of our bodies with the exact same background, our same pose, our same face, just with all of our clothes off. So there was an AI body on top of this picture of us. And she had created this
Okay.
collage.
So tell me, so now that you're talking about the AI, right? This is an app. Tell people what the name of the app was. I think that's an important thing for them to know too.
The app is called DNGG, and it is an app basically just to do that exact thing. Strip the clothes off a photo of anybody, and it is totally realistic, and it's really scary, honestly. But
So that happened October 2nd, and this whole thing, it seemed like it drug out for months, but it was a span of a week that all of this kind of went down, right? It was, he knew the young man that did it knew the police were looking for him. And instead of quitting, he doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down, continued to send more pictures. So what app was it that he used predominantly to send these pictures out? They need to know that too.
so with Snapchat, you can create an avatar of yourself and also a name, and he made an avatar of himself as well as put my school's name as his name, so that way people from my school would add him because he had my school's name in the title. So they assumed that they knew him, and once they were accepted as friends, he would send the photos without any previous conversation. He would just send them out of nowhere, and that's how this got sent out.
Right. So again, we have no idea how many other pictures went out using Instagram or whatever avenues he could use, and whoever else had them could have passed them along. So we truly have no idea how many pictures are out there. And honestly, we know that there will be pictures out there now forever, somewhere, right? And so that's I'm sure that's a hard thing to understand, to feel that that at some point in your life that those pictures could resurface for whatever reason, right? So, all right. So, go back to school. Was it a Friday you were testing?
No, it was Wednesday was when I
Wednesday.
was tested.
Okay. Yeah.
I had the TSATs, so we were kind of locked in a room in an area.
Right. So you were testing, and he had already made statements in some of his comments to other people that he was going to go out with a bang. He was going to ruin the girls. He was suicidal, all of that stuff. And so during that time, there's a little bit of panic going on because you have no idea, right? And so, luckily, we know now that the school was able to use that because he was sending out pictures during that time. And they were able to trace him back and found out who it was.
When we went on Friday, we went into lockdown.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's what I meant. So we were talking about Friday. So I knew you had testing on Wednesday, whatever, but then Friday, the school goes into lockdown. Okay. So finally they catch him. Now we think, okay, we're going to handle this, right? So, Mom, what was that process like?
Starting at the beginning of the week, I mean, school didn't take us serious. There was, the first day that it happened, we went straight to the school. They didn't really respond. They were like, okay, we'll try to do something. We asked for the police to become involved. We did our statement, and that was about it. By Tuesday, he had targeted more of her friends and was sending out more and more pictures. And that is when he started responding to people on Snapchat saying he wanted to go out with the bang. So girls it was just a week of terror for them. Having to listen and not know who it was, and all these pictures showing up, and it seemed like there was more and more every day. So the girls kind of stayed out of school most of that week, other than the testing part where she had to go in. And then Friday, because she had volleyball, she had to go to school. So the whole week was terror. They finally, with all of us parents, responding, the school had to do something. So they started an investigation trying to find out who it was. But at that point, because he wasn't doing it on school Wi-Fi, there's really no way to find him, and police didn't know what to do with it either. So there's no laws for what's happening with this, and so there's no guidelines in the student code of conduct. So on Friday, when the school accidentally went into lockdown, though it was horrifying for the girls and for all of us, he went onto the school Wi-Fi and started sending out pictures again from those accounts, and that was how they were able to catch him. Now, what was disheartening is because he's a minor, he got all the protection where the girls didn't. We weren't allowed to know who it was. They did take him out of school, and so we kind of assumed who it was. But the police were informed of that at that point, and the sheriff's office took it over to try to see what they could do to prosecute. But again, there was no law, so they didn't really know what to do with it. So, we spent that whole first semester just in fear because we never knew when he was going to come back. The school wouldn't tell us anything. So, it was like they were protecting him. He was the victim, not the girls. And so, though he was in school suspension, at any moment he could come back. So that whole semester was just spent in terror. And Ellis, talk about how you felt just going down the hall.
I was terrified because this school was so evident about us coming back, and they didn't really care about what we were experiencing and what we were going through, and they were very secure in that you have to come to school, everything will be fine, but we didn't really feel as though we were protected. And it was really frustrating seeing that the school that we are trusting and that we are going to every day, not really care about our safety and not really make us feel protected. That was very frustrating and hard to deal with.
Yeah. From my end, I remember some of the statements made were, don't worry, you're going to be protected, but yet he's going to be back in school. He's going to be back going to class with you, being in the hallways with you. And things like, oh, wait, we can make him take different routes to his classes so he's not walk in the same halls with you, those kind of things, which was super frustrating to me. And then both of us know the famous words of, we have an obligation to him to protect him and educate him. And in that whole conversation of ours with the school administration, not one time did they say that about our daughters. And that's when I knew that things were going to go south. I knew how things were going to go from there. So November, you go to the school board, talk about this whole thing, and we're thinking now it's going to blow up. They're going to handle things. We realize now that that's not the case. Nothing happened from there either. And still, how long has it been? Since November, school board, and we haven't really heard from the superintendent at all, right? So, next step, right? This is what I talk about doing LifeWarrior on my first podcast, when I explained about what doing LifeWarrior shit is. At that moment, at that time, now you got to make a decision as a parent, right? So you make a LifeWarrior decision in April, and so I'll let you tell about what you did to move it forward.
Yeah. So in November, when we went to the school board, we had asked that they, one, don't let him return to school, and then two, start to put something into the student code of conduct that would allow for there to be some kind of punishment for this kind of thing, some kind of retribution for it. And it just fell on deaf ears. They didn't, they just wouldn't even listen. So that was so frustrating. So for you and I, what do we do now? How do we move forward? And so I just started calling anybody and everybody that would listen. So I called our state rep, Phil King. I left a message with his office. They called me back, and we talked a little bit about it. But they, too, there's no verbiage. There's nothing out there. They want to do something, but we've got to figure that out. I left Senator Cruz a message as well. Just anybody that would listen, anywhere I could get. So in April, his office reached back out to me and was like, hey, he heard your recording, heard your story. Will you tell us a little bit more about it? So we got to sit down and tell his office our story. And in that came, I want to do something. So Senator Cruz has a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old daughters. So Ellison was 14 when this happened. She's 15 now. It really hit home for him. And so he wanted to try to come up with some kind of a bill that would put something in action that would have consequences and hold responsible, these big corporations of social media. So we kind of were on hold as they were trying to get that together. And then they're trying to get support on both sides of the aisle. So it's a bipartisan bill called Take It Down. And it would give 48 hours to all social medias. They have 48 hours to take the photos and the accounts down. They have to, or they're going to be held accountable. And then it would also, he would have, it would hold jail time for whoever did this, even if he was a minor. So what ended up happening to our guy is that all that the sheriffs could do was do a misdemeanor, Class A misdemeanor for harassment, sending out harmful materials to a minor. So, which got him a slap on the wrist, probation, and then it'll be expunged when he's 18, and he'll walk away. No one will ever know that he did this. Where the girls will live with these consequences that he chose for them for the rest of their life. So, had this been in place, this bill been in place in law, it would be a felon for what he did. So, in June, they called me back. They were able to get both sides of the Republican and Democrat, which it's not really a Republican or Democrat bill. It's really about our kids and protecting them. And I think we've all kind of been able to come together on that point. And so they're going to hopefully in September present the bill. But we've got tons of support. They had us fly out to D.C. a couple times and to New York so that we could kind of get our story out there and try to raise more awareness for this bill, get people on board, help them understand what happened from our perspective. So that's kind of been the fight, is to try to get this to go through.
So, all right. So yeah, that was what I would call a LifeWarrior decision you made in a time of extreme conflict and struggle, where you could have made the decision to just lay down and not pursue it further, which there were numerous girls involved in this, and that was a decision you made, and no others really made that decision to carry it this far. So Elliston, your mom carried it that far, pushed it, and we got to this level, and now you realize that you got to go to Washington, D.C. To speak at a press conference in Washington. Then you got to go to New York and be on Fox and Friends and Mornings with Maria and NBC Nightly News and all of these things. I was there. I know how nervous you were to do it, but you still, again, made the LifeWarrior decision to do it. So what was it? What was your reason, your why, of why you decided to step alongside and take up that fight and carry your message to everybody in the world?
Well, I really do think that these opportunities were placed in front of us for a reason, and I know that that I wouldn't be given these chances to tell my story if it wasn't for a bigger purpose. And I really do believe that what we are doing is going to help people in the future, or at least inspire something further down the road. And I really am in touch with my faith in knowing that what I'm doing is really going to help others, and I'm doing my best with good intentions for good things to come out in the end. That was really what pushed me. And as well as like the support from not only my mom, but even all the girls that were also involved. They haven't stepped up, but they've really encouraged me. And I wouldn't be able to do that without such a good support system around me. And once I realized that we were taking this kind of local situation nationally, and we did fly to Washington, D.C., and we did get in touch with Senator Cruz, as well as we went to all these news stations in New York. That also made me realize that what I'm doing is bigger than just me, and the situation that I had, that I went through. Unfortunately, it's over, and there aren't any consequences for him. And I kind of have settled in knowing that what he did is what he did, and although he might not get consequences, anyone down the road that does do this will get consequences. And I hope that what I'm doing will help implement a bill or some sort of legislature that will prevent this from ever happening again.
There you go. So I'll ask another question that nobody's really probably asked you, which is, what did you see watching your mom take this fight up for you and not letting it go? What are the things that you're going to carry with you from that, just watching what she did?
Well, she really pushed no matter what. I mean, when this first happened, we didn't get any sort of callback. We were kind of just left alone, especially with the school board and especially with the local sheriff's department and everything like that. We were kind of just left in the dark and swept under the rug. But seeing her push to go to Austin and go to the school board, and even just to fly out to Washington D.C. without me or without you, without just really showed me how serious she is in getting this story out, and how strong that was, and the bravery she had in doing that, regardless whether we were going to get any sort of attention from it. And clearly her fight and pursuing this has turned into something really big, and we wouldn't be here sharing my story and going to Washington, D.C. and going to New York if it wasn't for her, with just standing up and realizing that what she has to say is important.
So what I'll say is that, from my perspective, is there were numerous times during this 8 or 9 months that you, Anna, me, we could have all just cashed it in and said, okay, well, the police say you're not going to get any word from Snapchat back. So just be, okay, that's enough. Okay, we haven't gotten any response from the school board. That's enough. We'll cut it right here. So from my perspective, there were numerous LifeWarrior decisions made in an 8 or 9 month period because there was constant conflict and struggle during that time trying to get things done. And it took you going to Washington, D.C., sitting in Senator Cruz's office and having him actually call Snapchat and say, you take these pictures down right now. And how long was it before they came down? But it took how long? It took him how long?
It took him 24 hours.
Yeah. So in that is a lesson, a LifeWarrior lesson for people that in times of conflict and struggle, there's going to be choices to be made, times that you're going to have to make a choice to either quit or continue the fight, right? And so from my perspective, that's exactly what both of you have done. I've just kind of been on the outside watching. What I would like to introduce into it is not allowed by law. So, so I've had to let y'all do your thing. So, all right. So, Elliston, again, this is about LifeWarrior stuff. So this whole process, right? Now that you understand that part of it, doing LifeWarrior shit, I have my own definition. I have my own thoughts about what it is. What would tell people out there that want to know what would your LifeWarrior lesson be? What does being a LifeWarrior mean to you?
I mean, my LifeWarrior lesson was just kind of going out of my comfort zone because I was content in knowing that what happened and I didn't have faith that this story could actually introduce a law. And that kind of stepping out of that, and especially going to New York, that really just showed me that something so little could really turn into something so big, and trusting your gut and knowing that what you have to say does matter and your voice can do something is just what I really take away, because when this whole thing happened, I was helpless and I feel like there was no hope in this situation, and I just thought what happened. But seeing how it's turned into something so big and so influential has really just inspired me.
That's good. That's good. Mom, wife, we've been at this a long time together, and we've been through numerous conflicts and struggles in the last 5 years, and this is just kind of the icing on the cake of the conflict and struggles we've fought through in the last 5 years or so. And so, from your perspective, I always learn stuff from the conflicts and struggles that I go through. So, what would be your LifeWarrior lesson and what it means to you?
I think the biggest thing from this is that I have a voice and it can be heard. I think you and I both have talked so many times about the people in our lives who just don't listen to us and don't let us have a voice, even though we have it. We're screaming it and not always getting heard. But this, I think, for me, has really emphasized that, if I keep on, we keep going, we're going to be heard. And for anybody out there, don't give up. Keep trying, because it is going to fall on somebody at some point that will listen and will take up the struggle and the walk with you.
I like it. Those are two great messages. And again, for me, when I mentioned in the first episode that LifeWarrior is about that. It's about it's not about the story that made you who you are or that has given you the mindset you have. That's not it. It is what did you do? What choices and decisions did you make to continue? How did you continue to push forward even when you didn't want to? And so I've watched that with y'all numerous times during this whole thing. And the interviews still come. You still have to get your mindset right. And you have podcasts all the time. Y'all were with the London Times the other day and numerous other articles and newspapers and stuff. And so it takes a lot of mental, it brings a lot out of you to have to go do that on a daily basis. So I've learned some lessons through this myself. So I appreciate y'all coming on. It's been crazy. And so all you boys out there understand and know that she's been kind of famous now lately. All you got to do is look her name, Google her name on there and just type in Ellison Berry and she'll pop up. So all you boys out there, just understand, I'm still not afraid to fight a kid. Not afraid to fight a kid. So, all right, y'all. Proud of both of you. Thank you for telling the story. And again, the law, take it down Act. And we're hoping that in September that kicks in and there's big things. And that is the ultimate LifeWarrior ending, is made a choice, pushed, didn't quit. And now out of that one little phone call that was made, a law that will be on the books forever in the United States. Huge. So proud of both of you. So much love for both of you. Thank you for coming on. That's it, y'all. Episode 2 in the books. Thank y'all for coming on. Stay tuned for episode 3 and my boy, Aubrey McDade Jr. Peace.